I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thanks for joining us this morning and taking time out of another Friday to attend our last webinar of the semester. This morning's topic is going to be the Competitive Scholarly Research Grant Program, which is an internal grant opportunity that is currently open and accepting applications. And this session will be recorded and posted to our YouTube channel if you want to refer to it later. So the Competitive Scholarly Research Program, or CSRG, is an internal grant opportunity that provides funding support for faculty members that are seeking to further their knowledge through meaningful scholarly and creative research efforts. Each faculty member is eligible to apply for up to $5,000 per funding cycle. And this cycle will support projects with periods of performance between May 16th of 2026 and May 15th of 2027. The application period is currently open through March 23rd, 2026, with awards to be announced by April 30th of 2026. Two types of activities are supported by the Competitive Scholarly Research Grant Program, which are scholarly growth for faculty members and then scholarly growth for students. Projects that support faculty growth should be designed to keep the faculty member up to date with recent developments in their fields of study or generate scholarly expertise that is relevant to the faculty member's academic assignments, support the development of new areas of scholarly competence that are needed on campus, and they should also generate knowledge to inform public policy, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and social justice. Projects that support student growth should be faculty-led research initiatives that focus on students' academic development and participation in research activities, and they should facilitate students' achievement of higher levels of competence in either specific disciplines or interdisciplinary areas of study. Ineligible activities under this program are activities that are focused on curriculum development, conference participation costs, or gift card purchases to pay participants in your research. Some program priorities that CSRG focuses on that can help boost the likelihood that your proposal may be funded are that the project is not currently receiving institutional support. They must propose more complex and methodologically intense research, and projects that are submitted by faculty members that have already received an internal award and demonstrated that they are capable of using that internal funding to achieve positive outcomes are going to be given priority over those that are not. As I mentioned on a previous slide, the application period is currently open through Monday, March 23rd, and applications are being accepted via web form submission. I've linked the application here for convenience sake, but it's pretty similar to all of our other internal award submission platforms. Faculty members are allowed to submit one application per funding cycle, and the applications will be reviewed by the UIS Research Board. Like our other internal opportunities, the proposal requirements for the CSRG are fairly straightforward with 14 different categories. You'll need to include basic information, a project title, a project summary that is structured as a concise description of the project that includes the research hypothesis or study questions, and an overview of your research design and methodology, and a data analysis plan with your expected results. You'll also have to include your research goals and objectives that directly tie with your research hypothesis and study questions, and your project's methodology that explains how you will achieve those results. You'll also need to include a statement of need or significance that outlines the problem that your research will address and how your project will contribute to the progression of knowledge in your field. Your references and bibliography that you should include with your application will need to include a minimum of 10 references. And if your project focuses on student growth and involvement in research activities, then you will need to detail how the students will be involved. This section should include an overview of the proposed activities in which the students will participate, what their expected time commitments will be, and how you plan to recruit them. It should also include how involvement in the project will contribute to the students' overall professional development. As a side note, all projects that plan to include faculty stipends in the budget should also include student involvement. So be sure to take that into consideration when you're creating your budget and creating your proposal. You'll also need to detail any potential scholarly products that may be generated by this award. One of the requirements of receiving an award through this program is that awardees must agree to present their research project to the campus community via the faculty scholarly presentation series. So that's a given item in the section, so make sure you include it there. The potential for your project to receive additional external funding is another important category. The CSRG can serve as a stepping stone for you to apply for additional funding through external sponsors. Some faculty members that I've discussed this program with have indicated that much of their interest in this program is to help progress their research to the point where they're better positioned to apply for another larger grant. So if that's the case, use this section to detail any external opportunities that you plan to approach when this funding expires. UIS primarily uses Grant Forward to identify and disseminate external funding opportunities. So if you haven't already finished setting up your profile on Grant Forward, please consider doing so because it can help you with this section. Also, if it's applicable, you will want to provide a list of any non-instructional assignments or other campus funding support awards that you've received over the past 4 years, along with the research results and products that are associated with those awards. You'll want to detail any publications, presentations, any creative collaborations, or follow-up external funding that were produced as a result of your internal awards to demonstrate the positive outcomes that were achieved. Priority will be given to projects that are submitted by faculty members that have a record of receiving internal awards, so make sure that you detail them all here. You're also required to submit a detailed budget and justification using the required CSRG budget template, which I've also linked here. The maximum funding amount is $5,000, and eligible budget categories will include personnel, commodities, and contractual costs. The personnel category covers student support and faculty stipends. Student support costs should consider the standard pay rate and numbers of hours that the student will be working per week, with the student's base pay as minimum wage. If you want to pay your student worker more than minimum wage, you have to submit a justification for the higher pay rate, and it might require departmental or college approval. Faculty stipends can only be requested on projects that include student participation and may only be included when mentoring students over the summer semester, regardless of whether the student is getting paid or not. Any necessary commodities or supplies must be detailed with the unit costs included, and any costs for research-related travel, pay for consultants, database subscriptions, or anything similar should be included in the contractual category. If you have to include research-related travel costs, they have to be itemized according to our current state rates. For more information about the state rates, you can visit the business travel page that I've linked here, where it'll detail what exactly is allowed for that category. You'll also have to include a 2-page curriculum vitae that details any recent publications that are relevant to the proposed project. And if your project includes human subject research, you have to include a copy of your submitted IRB application that's either in the first revision stage or a copy of your approval letter. Applications will be evaluated based on these criteria. You'll have to clearly state your project's significance, objectives, and methods with the expected results. Your project must fit with your overall scholarly goals. If your project involves students, you must clearly explain how the project will benefit the student's professional development. Whether your proposal has the potential to receive external funding will also be considered, as will if the funding will provide for expenses that would otherwise prevent the project implementation, or if it would require that you contribute your own money to ensure that the project proceeds. You'll want to note that as well. You'll also be evaluated based on how solid your methodology is, and if you successfully received and implemented internal funding awards in the past. Some things to keep in mind when you're preparing your application is that the UIS Research Board will be evaluating the applications in order to recommend them for funding. The Research Board is made up of individuals from across many different disciplines and colleges, so they're not just going to be in your own field. As such, you should focus on making sure that your proposals can be easily understood by laypersons and colleagues that may not be as well versed in your field. So it's best to avoid using jargon or overly technical language that can complicate your submission. Awards will not favor one specific type of project over another. Your main focus should be clearly communicating the merits of your project and the potential impact that your project will have. You'll notice that on the evaluation criteria, a lot of the items that were listed focused on how clearly you articulate your project and how convincing of an argument that you make that it will be impactful and that it will generate, future knowledge or research. If you receive an award, you will be required to submit research reports and financial reports, including a mid-year progress report in December and a final progress report that will be due by the end of the project period. Additionally, all awardees must present their CSRG project results to the campus community as part of the Faculty Scholarship Series during the academic year following the completion of your CSRG. If you don't meet these requirements, you may be barred from the next internal funding opportunity cycle, so make sure that you adhere to all the terms and conditions. I've linked all of the programs associated links here on this slide for reference, but you can always reach out to the Office of Research and Sponsored Programs if you have any specific questions. You can reach out to any of us directly or send an email to our ora@uis.edu inbox and we'll be sure to respond. So if anybody has questions, I will take them now, or I can return to you some of your morning. What is the minimum wage for student worker, or how can we find it? I believe that's the state minimum wage. Krista, is that correct?
I'm having trouble getting unmuted. Yes, it is the state minimum wage, which in Illinois is $15 currently. So if that were to change, it would be whatever that updated rate is. But I believe that is what Illinois has capped at for at least the foreseeable future.
But it changes for master's students because they should get a upper level.
I'm sorry, could you repeat? I can't quite hear.
I mean, for minimum wage, I mean, it should change for undergraduate students and master's students, right?
The state minimum wage does not change based on degrees. However, that can be justification for a higher rate, but that is more of a discussion with HR because they have those allowable rates based on experience and position.
Okay, thank you. Can you just go to the previous slide, number 12, slide number 12?
The things to keep in mind?
No, the next one.
40 requirements?
Yes, yeah. Here, like another option I found on the website or somewhere else that if this research is present in stars, that is also, I mean, in the faculty scholarship series, another option I saw somewhere, another option is present the research to stars. Is it?
You mean in replacement for participating in the faculty scholarship series?
Yes, like I mean, here you give the awardee will present their project result to the campus community as part of faculty scholarship series. So, I mean, where they should present it in
Yes.
business or in, I mean, in business school, they have a research and teaching colloquium series. Another option is stars. Maybe there are some other options. So where they need to present.
So you can do those other options as well, but the awardee, the faculty member, will still have to participate in the faculty scholarship series. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Another question I have, if you go back to go back uh, go back more more. So yeah, I mean, I saw somewhere that it depends on complexity of the methodology.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you want to provide your students with, ample opportunity to engage in the research process. So if you have a more complex project that will engage students to a higher level, then those will be given priority.
I mean, here I have a question. Like, we are in business school, so this is competitive. It's come from biology, computer science, engineering department. So comparatively, the methodology we use here in business school, it is it looks much less complex compared to research in biology and engineering and computer science. Then how do you compare? Uh,
Lucy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that will be taken into account. We're not going to, or they're not going to be favoring one school or one program over another. It's just that whether or not you've got an engaging research opportunity for your students, or if it will, further their professional development, essentially.
Here I see one problem here. Like actually last year I applied to two applications. One is survey-based research, another is technical research, behavioral and technical. So I got grant for technical one, not behavioral one. However, problem is when students go to PhD program, actually business school teach them how to do this behavioral research, uh, not technical. So in that case, if we conduct survey-based research here, it looks less complex and it's not competitive to other computer science research. However, students who want to go to PhD program after master's, they need to do this survey-based research, behavioral research. Uh, It is the track in business school.
So what I would recommend in that case would be to focus more on your more in your application on making that argument, and focus on exactly why that research is more relevant to the students in your field. Because I think what it comes down to is clearly articulating the need for that research and how it will impact the students. So if you focus more on making that argument that this type of research is more beneficial for your students, then I think that could help with that part of your application.
Yes, and another problem I faced here, I mean, when we get IRB, we need to get IRB from UIS to apply for this grant. However, problem is from this school, the student body and class size is too small. I cannot collect data from this school, and uh, but we do not have funds to collect data from other sources like MTurk or anything. In that case, what I need to do, I need to contact with another colleague to another school who is working in a large school, get another IRB from them to collect data from their school. So, I mean, is it okay, like getting IRB from here and then collect data from another school, like getting another IRB from another school?
Hi, Russell. This is Lucia, and Carissa, just feel free to kind of add any comments. Um, there are mechanisms by which in your IRB you can collaborate with someone from another university. And there are different ways, as you could mention, that person could get their own IRB. And however, if you're kind of working on the same kind of project, you will also need to do an IRB. Another way is something is called reliance. In other words, if you have, let's say, two institutions, UIS and a different institution working on the same project, there is a process by which only one of the institutions is responsible for overseeing the whole project. So it could be in this case UIS, or could be your collaborator at the other institution, and there is some different set of paperwork that we will need to complete in those cases. And going back to the project, as Sam mentioned, I mean, it is important to provide enough information for the research board to understand what is happening and or why it is relevant what you're proposing. The other thing I want to mention is that only one proposal per faculty per year is allowed. So that might be the reason why in the last cycle you submitted two projects, but only one was funded because we have a limit of only one funding only one project per faculty per academic year, per fiscal year.
Yes, like still I have question, why the technical one? I submitted two, but the board chose the technical one. I mean, not the survey-based one. So my understanding, they gave more value on technical one, not survey-based one.
I will have to go back to our notes and discussion, what the board discussed. I don't recall the specifics, but I can go back and review the notes from the meeting and see why that was favored over the other one. And if you want, we can meet at some point and talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, yeah, I mean, for application, if you give a feedback, I mean, if you just reject and if you give a feedback, then we can understand well, why it happened. I mean, why it is not as strong enough to get the grant. So if you get a feedback for the rejection, it will be great for us.
Yeah, thank you for your suggestion.
Thank you.
And I want to add one more thing about the IRB question. So if you are collaborating with another researcher, that's where the reliance or any of that comes into play. If you are just collecting data from the other site, it doesn't necessarily require an entire new IRB application from the other site. They can provide a letter of support for you to recruit from their students or to survey their students. That is a little bit different than if they are doing the research.
Yes, I mean, need to understand better. Like I got IRB from our school, and then I cannot collect data from here because number of students is too low. In that case, if I want to collect data from another school, so I need to get another IRB from that school.
Only if researchers are at that school. If you are the only researcher and you want to collect data from the other school, you don't need an IRB application. You would need a letter of support, which is a lot simpler than an entire application.
Okay, got it. Yeah. I mean, letter of support from their school, right? Not from our school.
Correct. From their school saying you are allowed to recruit their students.
Okay, got it. Thank you.